Ladies and gentlemen, konnichiwa, and welcome back to the Kamen Review. I'm, of course, Guy the Kamen Gentleman, and I'm going to keep this short because I ramble way too much in these opening parts. Today's video, and I apologize, it's been quite some time since the last Kamen Review, will be on Warframe. And yeah, enjoy the randomness of this video because I will ramble quite a lot. So, enjoy, folks. So before we jump into the bones and the meat and all the good stuff that makes Warframe amazing, and some of the bad stuff as well, because it does have bad stuff. I'm sorry, D. I'm sorry, issues. I kind of want to talk about where my experience with Warframe really began, because the importance of this game needs to be explained, for me especially. So, gameplay-wise, when I first started playing Warframe was back in 2016. That's when I made my account, and that's when I first played it. However, my actual experience, like the first time I ever learned about Warframe, was back in 2013. And 2013, the early 2010s and stuff like that, were a very dark time for me as a gamer and as a person. You know, briefly going to talk about this. Like, I was dealing with a lot of depression and gaming addiction at the time because the depression more or less like cut me off from most of my, social stuff. I retreated very quickly into being in my room and stuff like that, and so gaming took over. And World of Warcraft obviously was out then, and I was so invested in that, which was not a good idea at the time. Looking back, definitely not a good idea. At the time, great idea. Now, no, because that time I kind of did not have any social reads, social abilities and stuff like that. So I was stuck more or less in the world I made. But I was also on YouTube quite a lot. Like, YouTube was always something that I looked at. And a video pops up back in 2013. And it's still weird, no matter how many times I've recorded this script, it's still weird to say this. WTF is Warframe. And for those people who've been around YouTube long enough, I'm sorry if I've just made you sad. Yeah, it's hard to think back to Total Biscuit these days. But I should rewatch the video, before doing this video. Because what was it about this video, apart from TB giving a very good description of the game? What was it that caught my attention? And it's the Tennos in the game. And also, side note, watching the beta footage, wow, the game has changed so much. It's crazy. But at the time, I loved the video, I enjoyed watching it, and without realizing it, Warframe infected my mind. It was sat at the back of my mind all that time. And then 3 years later, when I'm admittedly in a better place, because I was at university at the time, which is weird to think about, that I was at university at the end of the 2010s. That's so weird. But I was at university, so I started to play it. Because I was like, oh, Warframe. I remember Warframe. I remember the video. That was a fun game. Played it. And fell in love with it. And weirdly, this is the weird thing. At the time, I didn't realize it. But I began the process of healing through the after effects of gaming addiction. Because that lasted a long time. Because I always had to be online. I always had to be on a game, But Warframe began the process of me recovering from that. And the reasons why? Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about the reasons why this game healed me and is just amazing to play. So, what did I mean by this game allowed me to heal? Well, really, it's down to the gameplay that this game has that really allowed me to realize I don't need to spend every day playing a specific game. One of the things that I absolutely love about Warframe is the mission systems in this game, because every world that you go to has specific missions. Now, some of them are frustrating, we'll get to that later, but it's literally like a quest in itself. It's like this planet has 6 quests and you can do them in a specific order. Like, some of them will have branching paths and stuff like that that'll lead to a different zone or different part of the world, but it'll just be like, hey, go here, exterminate 100 people, go kill a bunch of infested enemies. Cool, I'm going to do that. And because these maps and the enemy types are very interesting in general, it doesn't feel repetitive, at least to me. It doesn't feel repetitive. I love going around missions and just exploring the map and just having fun. And beyond the maps and the missions and the quests in brackets and stuff like that. The best thing about Warframe is the Warframes. Now, in other games, and I was explaining this to a friend of mine who I asked, I was like, hey, have you played Warframe? And he's like, yeah, but I played it like 5 years ago, and it's like, I didn't really get that far into it. I'm like, oh, you should try again. Like, it's really good now. And he's like, oh, I like this type of character, like class in other games is framed for that. And we talked about it, and like he eventually picked one. And that's the cool thing, because there is no particular class in Warframe. There's none of that class paralysis that you would get in other MMOs and other action games, where it's like, oh, what class do I want to pick? Oh, do I want this class or this class? The magic user is quite good, but the stealthy dudes are quite good as well. What should we pick? In Warframe, it's like, I like this Warframe, I'm gonna play him. And that's what I love about this game, is the freedom you have to make your character yours. Now, there are so many choices. Every Warframe has 4 different abilities, 3 normal ones, and then 1 that's classed as an ultimate that generally will have varying effects. Like the Caliban, for example, has 3 abilities. 1 of them is a summoning ability, 1 is a stomp ability, 1 is a spin dash ability. But his ultimate is beams of death, and it's fun. You get that visceral feeling. You get that, oh, this was fun to do. And massacring a bunch of Grineer is always fun to do. But again, the ability to change things around and find the frame that's good for you is so much fun. And then you have different weapon types. You have your bows, you have your rifles, you have your snipers, you have your shotguns, you have kunai, you have fucking pistols and mini rocket launchers and all that sort of stuff. And it's so fun to give yourself a weapons loadout that is just gives you all that dopamine hit, when you use that weapon and you see the result of it, and then you have your melee weapons ranging from bow staffs to swords to cleavers to whips, and it's just like, oh, this is so much fun. And then you have Warframes who actually have melee abilities. The Valkyria, her ultimate gives her energy claws, and you can slash into people. The Garuda, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, has claws that if you don't have a melee weapon equipped, she will use that. And that's so fun. It's really, really fun to do. And on top of that, you get companions to join your Warframe. You got like death cubes and seekers and like a vacuum one, which sucks up all the items and stuff. And you get a doggo, or you get a moa. And there's so many different options for you to have a fun, powerful loadout for whatever build you want to take. And that's the thing, because once you select what Warframe you want, what weapon you want, what companion you want, you can level all these up. And it starts at unranked and goes all the way up to rank 30. And you would think, oh, that's low. Most online games have like rank 100. The one thing this game does so much so much better, is once you hit max rank of 30, you can reset that rank, keeping like a lot of the stuff on it in terms of like stats and stuff. But you also get to upgrade these weapons, these frames and stuff like that with mods. And every time you reset one of these items at max rank, you can polymerization. Like, you can basically upgrade the slots on it to have affinity for a specific type of mod. And these mods will allow you to have more damage, more shields, more health, more bullet time, more, power, more energy reserves, all this stuff. And it's so much fun to mix and match and figure out what is good. Because when you do the missions, you have the ability to equip your weapon with specific damage types, and each faction will have weaknesses. So I believe, going off the top of my head here, the Grineer have impact and corrosive weaknesses. So you equip your weapon with impact damage and corrosive damage by combining 2 elements together to do that. And it's just like so fun. And sometimes you get like a daily mission where it's like, hey, kill this many enemies with this damage type. So combat itself never feels dull. And sometimes it's really fun just to, like, if you've got a katana, and just go, I'm just going to slash my way through these fools. And sometimes you have to, And that's, again, one of the reasons why I love this game. And beyond the missions, beyond the items and the frames you equip, movement in this game is so fucking fun. I'm sorry. It is so good, because you can walk, you can run, you can jump, you can crouch, you can slide, you can bullet time. You can literally bullet jump forward, aim down sights, and everything slows down as you shoot the Grineer or the Corpus or the Infested or the Okrim or whatever you're fighting at the time. It is so fun to do that. And you can, this is something I only learned recently, and I've been playing this on and off since 2016, you can latch onto walls in this game. So you can jump at a wall, aim down sights, and hang onto the wall while you're shooting people down, and just, oh, it's so fun to do. And then you have other mission types where you're in space. You know, you're on what's called an Arcwing, and you get to fly around with like boosters on your back and a giant sword, and it's so fun. It really is. And this is why this game helps heal me. And I realized we went on a long tangent there about the cool stuff in the game before we got back to this. But the way this game is built, especially now, allows you to really just jump in for like an hour and do a couple of missions just to get some resources, just to get some experience. And it's never really pestering you to do something else. You know, if you want to, there are story quests. They've actually built an entire like storyline to this game, which is really cool. And it's fun to just jump in and just do a few missions. And with the addition of the open world stuff that they added in like 5 years ago and adding in since then, it's so much fun. Like before even recording this video, I decided to go to one of the open world zones, Cambion Rift, sorry. And I literally just did some mining, which is another thing you can do in this game, which is surprising. You can go around the open world and just mine spots. You could go fishing, for crying out loud. I don't know why I stumbled over that word. Or you can go tranking animals to keep them safe. And we'll get back to that bit in a bit, because I have issues with that part. Not specifically the mechanics, but just we'll talk about Cambion Rift and tranking animals in that one in a bit. But there's always something cool to do in this game. And talking about the movement, in the open world you get to use what's called the K-Drive, which is a hoverboard. You get to use your Arcwing if you have the necessary upgrades for it. And when you get to the new content, the 1999, you get the motorbike, which is really cool, and you get to use these in the open world stuff to allow you to move around a lot faster. Now, I don't know how the automocycle works. I don't know what the mechanics are. I don't know how like you can upgrade it and stuff. I don't know what that is. But the one thing I don't like, and again, we'll talk about it in a bit, is using the K-Drive. Like, whenever I'm in the open world, I will use my Arcwing as much as possible, because the K-Drive is, it's a good idea, it's just frustrating. And we'll get to that in a bit. And, you know, a lot of the good points for me is the fact that there is a lot of fun stuff to do. A lot of the missions are quick, they're rewarding, they are enjoyable. Some are frustrating, and again, we'll get to that in a bit, but all the missions you can do mostly solo. Now, some of them might be very difficult to do solo, but you can do it if you're prepared. Like some of the missions, later missions, I've been able to do because I had the Cambion. And again, thank you, D, for having that free event that they did like later last year. And that was a lot of fun, because Cambion is so much fun to play. The ability to customize your Warframes and your weapons, both in terms of their mods and appearance, is really fun. And I remember reading somewhere, or someone had said on a video, that they only really spend money on games if they're getting something fun out of it. And that's how I feel about Warframe, because a number of the frames I have, like Saito 9, Potera, Nidus, Zaku, who else? There's a few more that I'm forgetting probably. But I've spent money to buy the frames, because at a point on the Switch, because I had to buy it get it on the Switch while I came to Japan, I got stuck. And I was like, I'm never going to get like the cool zones where I can get these frames, so I'm going to spend the money. And I really enjoy them, you know, and that's really cool. So it's a lot, all those factors that really boil down to what makes Warframe fun is like, it's an enjoyable zone out game. Like, the plot is good up to a point, then it just goes batshit insane, apparently. And I think I'm getting closer to that in terms of my own playthrough. I'm like, oh, this plot is getting weird now. What? Is it going to be crazy? I hope so. And then, you know, it's just like, I have so much fun. And whenever I talk to people about Warframe, I'm just like, this is so much fun. There's so many cool options to play as. There's like fun stuff. The dojo is quite fun to set up, you know, which is your like guild hall and stuff like that. And just like, the gameplay is fun now. And I remember way back watching Total Biscuit's video, like, it's amazing to see how different the game is now, how much love has been injected into Warframe. And fun story, I think I've mentioned it a few times in my when I've streamed and stuff like that, Warframe. I got to go to Tokyo Game Show last year, and Warframe had a booth there, and I got to talk to Megan, I believe it was, and I was saying like hey, this is like thank you for making such a great game. And, you know, I was talking about that, like my experiences with the game and stuff, and I got to like play a Prime, or I think it was the Excalibur Umbra. I think it was one of them. It was a Prime or one of the Umbra, and it was just fun to see like so many people love this game. And I remember seeing a guy standing like 2 places in front of me in the queue. He had his Steam Deck and he was playing Warframe before going in to play Warframe. I'm like, you like the game. That's cool. So, I will always recommend this game. And this is why it helped heal me. And I know I'm going off a tangent. I'm sorry, there's no script anymore in these videos. It's just a ramble. But it helped heal me because I got to play this game. And I'm like, okay, I don't have to be on here all the time. I can quit. I can have something else to focus on, And that's really good because that gaming addiction really messed me up way back when. But anyway, enough rambling. Let's get to this point, not so good. The negative aspects of Warframe are very limited. They're not really like game breaking. They're not really like the most disrespectful thing ever. It's just frustrations. And a lot of it boils down to like old mechanics, I would think. Like the foundry in the game is really cool because you get to make everything in the game. Like if you have the blueprint for it, you can make it as long as you have the materials. However, when it comes to Warframes, it's a big investment of time because once you have the blueprints for the actual Warframe and the parts to that Warframe, the systems, the chassis, and the new optics, you have to build those 3 first before you make the Warframe. And those take like 24 hours at best. So like if you have all of them together and you can make them all at once, that's a day. That's okay. But if you're doing missions and you're just making them as and when, that's a couple of days. And then when we get to the Warframe itself, that's 72 hours. That's a long time. And I believe if my memory works, they said they're going to lower that, which if they do, that's huge. Because I want to make a bunch of Warframes, but it's like, too much time. The other thing, like I said earlier, was the K drive. Now, the K drive is really cool because I love me some snowboarding games. I love snowboards and hoverboards and stuff like that. I really do. SSX was one of my favorite games, but the K drive angers me so much. Because in order to get a good K drive, you need to do the faction connected to them, the vent kids. And honestly, I really wish they had a little bit more to them because reputation grinding in Warframe can be tedious because you try to do everything to get a rank up and stuff like that. But the vent kids are the one that I just don't want to do. Because when you start their questline, you get given a K-Drive launcher. So you get the basic of basic in terms of a K-Drive. And you have to do races and stunts and stuff like that to get points, to get reputation with them. And as you level up your reputation, you get to buy parts for your own K-Drive, which is fine. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind that. The problem is, the base K-Drive that you get can't be modded. So there's a lot of issues with you trying to do like certain missions in this game for them where it's like, I was struggling. I'm like, how do I do this particular thing? And I looked on Reddit and stuff and I think, hey, just mod it. I'm like, you can't though. So like trying to do K-Drive stuff with a base K-Drive unit is terrible. And I just wish like most factions in the game have a specific resource you can trade with them to get reputation. And I just wish the vent kids had their own instead of like the universal medallions that you can give to any faction. It's like, give me a medallion type for them. That would be so much better. I would happily do missions for that. But that's the issue there. Now, what other issue did I have? Oh, missions. That's it. Most of these missions are fun to do. You have your exterminate missions, you have your defense missions, you have mobile defense, you have capture, you have rescue, you have spy. Spy can be annoying, but I don't have issues with that. But it's later missions like disruption and interception and stuff like that requires you to be really like a disruption mission, if I remember correctly, requires you to go to specific points, get a key, and defend this spot. And while I managed to do it, like I've done one disruption mission, I've succeeded once. It is so frustrating if you're not prepared. If you don't understand the mechanics of it, you're just gonna get like floored very quickly. And yeah, this is a co-op game, so it's designed to be played co-op, but most missions should be doable solo as well, to a degree. Now, later missions and later zones, yeah, they have a high level cap because they're designed for multiple people, which is fine. I get that. That's end game stuff. That's fine. But missions like this, I think they need a little bit more early appearances because disruption missions don't show up till like Jupiter, at least if I remember correctly. I'm not entirely certain on that, but I would like them to have been introduced a little bit earlier. So you get like an easier time of learning it, and then you get to be like, okay, here, this is what I do, which is perfectly understandable, but that's me. Another mission type I really, really detest, depending on what I'm facing, is the assassination mission. Now, I was interested in getting the Wisp Warframe for reasons, but to do it, you have to fight a very powerful boss monster. And a boss monster that has the worst mechanics in the entire game. It is a flying enemy. And you don't really get that many flying enemies in the game. You get jetpacks and stuff like that, but that's fine. But like flying bosses, not so much. And I was Googling it because I didn't know how to fight it. Because you need to be at a specific point in the main story to fight it, basically. And doing this boss fight solo made me so angry. It literally is a case of like, oh, you have to get over to these pylons through the wire climbing. You have to run along the wires and all that, which is frustrating because that is so tricky to get right. And then you have to dodge the electrical current it sends to you. And then once you get to the pylon, you have to hide behind it as it does its death ray. And then you have to deplete its shields and then jump on it to drive it into that. And then it's a complicated mess of 3 phases, but it drains your ammunition very quickly. And it's so frustrating. Really is. I was very much ready to quit. Like rage quit during that fight because I ran out of ammo completely. And I'm like, I'm using the special ability of my 5th power-up, which we're not going to talk about. But it's like using that, and I was just so frustrated with it. I managed to beat it, and I'm like, I need to rethink what I'm doing here for this fight, which is a good thing. But there's a lot of like mechanics, and a lot of like areas where you feel like, oh, this wasn't finished, you know? Because I was reading the wiki on it, and it's like, this was meant to be like leading into something else, and it didn't really do that, which is frustrating. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of frustration with this game is Kamen Rift, which is the infested open world, because you have Plains of Eidolon, you have Orb Valis, which is the Corpus world, Plains of Eidolon is the Grenier world, and Cambrian Rift, which is the infestation world. There is a 4th one. I haven't got to there yet, so I'm not going to talk about it. When you go monster hunting in Eidolon or Orb Valis, it's relatively easy to do. You know, you have your trank rifle, you find the monster you wish to trank, and you trank it, you know? It requires some hunting sometimes, but that's fine. Cambrian Rift, because of its design of being like a world fighting itself, the monsters you can trank will often be like attacked by monsters. So you'll be just like mining or like doing a mission, and all of a sudden there'll be a pop-up on the screen like, hey, this animal needs saving, this monster needs saving. It's like, god damn it. And then you get there, it's a bad capture, because that works on like a bad, good, and perfect sort of level, which is frustrating. And like, it's just really annoying because I want to get the good points, but enemies just keep knocking these damn things unconscious. It's like, god damn it, stop doing this to them. It's a small frustration. It's a small, but hey, that's me. And that's Warframe. I kind of didn't want to like ramble on too much about this because I just want to be like, hey, this game is awesome. And it really is. And apologies that it is unscripted now. I keep putting off writing scripts, and that has been why this series hasn't really been going anywhere in terms of releases. Some of them I will do a script for if it requires a lot and I need to really talk in depth about something. But yeah, most of them will be unscripted, and I'll make a comment in the description box that is unscripted and just a ramble about why I love Warframe. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Please do check this game out if you haven't. It is free, and it's just so much fun to play. And we'll be back soon. I'm trying my best to get back onto YouTube content creation, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, I've been Guy the Kamen Gentleman, and thank you so much. Till then, take care. Bye for now.